Howdy, lieutenants and economists.
The most volatile, evil, disgusting things on the planet, humans. If you have a video request, you can always go to assholeconsulting.com.
Yeah, I am gonna charge you, kids. And that is the importance of not fucking up.
You are such an asshole!
Hello, Aaron. Thank you for your previous videos. This is my second request this week. Another long email to read. Enjoy. Since there are multiple questions, please let me know what the amount of payment you would like for your response. Oh, we charge for long. Oh, yes. I would like to get your financial advice and possibly some life advice. If you're unable to specifically advise me for an investment standpoint, can you refer me to someone who you recommend or discuss what you would do in this instance? Yeah, I can only give you ideas I would do, but you're going to want to talk to an actual financial planner or investment advisor if you want to be told to specifically what to invest in what things. I can give you asset classes to consider investing in why, but I'm not going to tell you invest X and this, and let alone when or why or how. But this is the here's the general strategy you're going to go for, or some ideas. Then you're going to go follow up with a pro who can recommend you specific advice. And then when your investments go south, you can go sue him. Discuss what you would do in this. To recap, I'm 37, working out of California, living in Henderson, Nevada. I travel about 70% of the time and live in the Las Vegas area for the rest. I manage a large account that takes me all around the world. I make a very good living, and my lifestyle has been pretty frugal. I've managed to save approximately $400,000 in cash over the last 10 years. The rest of my investments are in a Roth IRA, a Roth 401k, as well as stock equity in the employing company. I don't know what to do with this money. I acknowledge that this is a good problem to have, and I'm thankful for it. And I suspect that elder members of your audience that have avoided marriage and family have had good success in business have had this problem as well. Yeah, we've had a couple guys come in, sent around $500,000 plus at times. What can you tell a successful 30-something to do with this money to become a retired 40-something? I don't know. That I can't promise you. I don't know what the markets could tank in 10 years, and you could, well, not lose your investment, but the value of the investment will go down. You'd have to wait for it to recover. Don't do this. I want to read. Don't be a you go girl. You can have it all. Careerist, highly educated millennial female. Okay, don't do that. Don't do the, well, at 27, what's this guy doing? Those dogs out there. At 27, I'm going to do this. And then at 28.5, I will find the love of my life. And then I will go and I will get married to this. And then we'll have three, but don't. That's not how life works. All right? Rough goal to retire around in your 40s. Let's leave it at that. Leave it up to the financial markets and everything else in terms of what you'd like to do. Where do we go? I've been looking at housing to potentially buy in the Green Valley Anthem part of Henderson. This is by living in hotel rooms and small apartments for the last decade. All the additional space for a 3 to 4 bedroom house gives me anxiety. I don't have enough shit to fill it. What kinds of shit do people fill their houses with? Everything. If you are a minimalist, you might want to think about a condo. If that really does bother you, but you will adapt to whatever environment you're put into. I remember every time I moved a lot, you'd be uncomfortable for a week or two, then you were fine. So I wouldn't necessarily let that bother you, but if you don't, you should be a minimalist for ulterior reasons to that. Namely, you don't have to move a ton of crap. You throw it in your backpack and go. So for somebody like you, just a small little condo might be fine. And I would not worry about filling it with shit. You don't have to fill it with shit. You can just, you can find a cheap studio, although you're going to be living with a lot of potentially loud criminal poor people as well. But I think you should be able to find, in the areas you're mentioning, a nice little condo or townhome. I think you'd be fine. But what kind of shit do people fill their houses with? The answer is worthless. The vast majority of stuff is worthless shit. The biggest thing I own is that Star Wars arcade game back there. And my vehicles, of course. But in terms of stuff that I have in my house, I think the desk and the computer screen. God, I don't even own a bed anymore. I switched down to a futon. But yeah, that's the answer, is what do people fill their houses with? Worthless shit. I've been told to avoid both townhouses and houses in, God, I can't fucking talk today. townhouses and condos. Due to shady HOA tactics from reliable friends and colleagues, is this good advice? Well, the problem is you wanting to buy in the Las Vegas area, that's all there is townhomes and condos. You're going to have an HOA. Even if you get a house, you're still going to be part, because it's how they do property taxes down there, which is a good thing, kind of because it's libertarian. Instead of the city doing groundskeeping and garbage and all that other stuff, it's the homeowners association. So yes, it's an HOA, but it really is more akin to property taxes that go and help pay for various public things that your development that you're going to live in has. So it's a little bit different in Vegas than it would be elsewhere. You still pay property taxes on top of that to the city or county because of the schools, but that's a lot cheaper than your total bill if it were to be a traditional non-HOA area. So yes, definitely look into HOAs, make sure their finances are good. I've not had trouble. I was worried about it too, but I've not had trouble. Do your due diligence. If anything, price, you want to be paying an arm and a leg for HOAs. If it really bothers you, you know what you could do, Mr. I'm from California. Go out to Boulder. I mean, you get to work from home. You want to talk about cheap housing and a nice place too. Go out to Boulder. There's some housing out there, and it's only like 30 minutes away from Henderson. If that, I think it's like 20. It's not that far. Hmm. 20 minutes, yeah. So I mean, that's another thing for you to consider if you want to try to find a place without an HOA. But even again, if you're buying a house, condo, townhome, you're going to have to pay an HOA out there. Part of the cash is to buy stocks when the market has a major correction at some point. Hopefully, if the Dow falls below 12,000 before I invest in it. Dude, that's going to take a huge fucking crash. I mean, it's going to have to take a huge crash for you to get down to 12,000. I don't think you're going to see it again. We'll just print ourselves out of it and inflate our way out of it. Another part of the cash fund is a general emergency fund, just to have for peace of mind. The remaining piece is for fun. Here's my, okay, so let's answer that. You want to know. All right, 400 grand, that's a lot. You've maxed out your 401ks, your IRAs. You don't need a property. You could afford a nice property for cash. I'm just going through all the different options I might have you consider. If you haven't invested in silver, 200 pieces of silver, that'll only take $4,000. For you, here's the gamble. You're not the worst candidate for housing, but you're not the best either. Because inevitably when you get to your point where you've maxed out your retirement funds, you're making a lot of money, you're sitting on that much cash, it almost is like, okay, you got to put it somewhere. And one of the not so worst things is to have a permanent home that you'll never be homeless. Not that that's going to be the case in your case, but you might as well kind of thing. It might save you a little bit on rent. If you buy the right one, it'll be cheaper than renting. But the real thing is that you're going for long-term capital gains, not just because Californians are moving in, but people keep saying, well, why does housing always go up? Why does the stock market always go up? Well, the truth is it keeps going up because we print off more damn money. So I almost, as I'm getting older, am looking at investing in the stock market, real estate investment trusts, things like that, more like a hedge against government printing presses because you have to. It's sad because it's been decoupled from its fundamental value. In the case of property, it would be rents. In the case of the stock market, it would be dividends or earnings. But that's almost moot now because it's, past 15 years, I don't think there's been a connection between cash flow and asset prices. It's simply just the government keeps printing off more damn money. That money goes through the banking system. What do banks do? They lend out money to people who what? Borrow money for mortgages, and then corporations who do leverage buybacks. So that money finds itself into asset prices. And so faced with that, and you don't want your $400,000 to deteriorate against inflation, you got to live somewhere. You seem to like this part of town. I would buy probably a condo because you're just one guy, you're a minimalist, you're not going to have a lot of space. There's a piece of me want to say, well, get a house and rent it out to other people, but why complicate your life like that? That's just, you don't need to deal with tenant issues and bullshit. I think a townhome or a condo would be fine for you. What I'd recommend you do, though, before you get used to that, why don't you go live in a condo or a townhome for a long time? No more hotels, no more junk. Just see if you can live in a condo or a small townhome and get adapted and used to it. What I'd also recommend you do is you go to an HOA that allows for rentals, because what some HOAs do is they don't allow for rentals, they don't allow for Airbnb. So you have to ask about that. Your realtor will tell you that. But once you get situated in a condo that you've been at for a while, then I would start looking for a place to buy. Again, no guarantee prices are going to go up. No guarantee that it would have been cheaper to rent, or would have been more expensive to rent, sorry. But now you'll never be homeless. You have part of a hedge against inflation. You now have an asset that you can rent out for cash, assuming the HOA allows you to. So there's that. But whereas your $400,000 in cash, you can't. Well, you could lend it out, I guess. Peer-to-peer lending is another option, I guess. But that's something to consider. So that's one thing you do. And depending on how big and where, you could probably blow through all $400,000 if you want a real pimpin' ass condo. Or I think in your area is the Green Valley, Anthem Park. Anthem's nice. I go hiking. One of my favorite hikes out there is called Black Mountain. That's a real nice town. I didn't see a lot of condos. But that area might be something to consider. There was Horizon Avenue. Some condos were going in there on Horizon Eastern area? Was that it? And they were called like The View or something. They're high up enough they overlook the city. Some of the few houses in the entire metro area that were actually built up where you could see the Vegas lights. So consider that. It's right along the highway going out to Boulder on the south end, Horizon Drive. Just drive that. It's essentially a frontage road to the highway. Just something to consider. So that's one option. Okay, that's probably not going to blow through all of your $400,000, so you're going to have a lot left over. One, set aside whatever you need for your emergency situation. Can't imagine it being more than $75,000. Then you're going to have a lot of money left over, and here, this is where you'd have to go talk to a investment professional or financial planner, because my inclination is like, you've already maxed out your retirement plans. You're not going to get any more tax benefit. I'd still just throw the damn shit into the boring old S&P 500 because it historically beats the professional managers. It's a low-cost index fund you can get into. You could use my Betterment program on CaptainCapitalism.blogspot.com. Go all the way down, and there's the bottom right little blue logo. So I'd get commission on that. But that's just what I would do. And again, the stock market could crash. Do you want to wait until there's a correction? Yeah, but I'm still waiting for that damn correction to come. Again, they keep printing off money. Money keeps flooding in because people throw it into a 401k IRA. You can wait and try and wait, or buy at the little dips along the time there. But I don't know, just after a while, it's just like, here, I don't give a damn, because you're at such a stage now. So what? It goes down by 20%. Oh well, you'll just wait for it to come out later. It's almost just to be done with it, and not have this chore list to do anymore. And the remaining pieces for fun, I agree. I would say travel more overseas, or wherever you'd want to travel. I'd actually earmark that before I'd throw anything into the stock. Again, the stock market, from my point, would simply be a hedge against inflation. That's what it would be, knowing full well it'll go up and down. But I would almost if you want to go someplace and do it, go do it. That's why you worked hard. That's why you got all the money. You were wise. You're a minimalist. You invested wisely. So you're not going to buy things. So I'd recommend you go travel, which you like to do. But if I recall correctly, you don't get to determine where you travel. You got to go where they tell you to travel. I'm saying if there's places you want to go and travel, go do it, man. Absolutely go do it. I'd also argue you get a motorcycle and go ride around a little bit since you're in one of the greatest towns for that. But that's just me. And then down the road, figure out whatever else you'd like to do with the money with a investment advisor. So basically, to recap, start looking for condos, all right? Again, no guarantee. The Las Vegas market could crash. They're building a lot out there, too. So prices are still actually very affordable, especially coming from California. So I'd find just a nice condo in a nice neighborhood. Nothing too big. Low HOA, all that other stuff. So that's one thing I do with the money. Second thing, set aside your emergency fund, however much you need for that. Silver, if you don't have cryptocurrency, maybe consider buying a couple $1,000s worth, not a ton. Again, it's not going to eat through it. Go out and travel and have fun. Come up with your bucket list. Go. That's what life is about. Put that there. And then with whatever residual cash there is, if you want to invest in stocks, real estate, investment trust, whatever investment opportunities are out there, go talk to a financial planner. Again, Betterment, if you want to use, that's what I use because I don't care. I'm not like, I need to get extra. I don't believe that you're going to beat the market. I just throw my money into a damn freaking index fund through Betterment. Low cost, all automated. Something to consider. Very easy and streamlined. And I get my commission poo on that. So yeah, that's what I would do. And I think once you get your condo, your emergency reserve, that should wipe out at least $350,000 worth of that. So you're not going to have too much money left over. And I think that will be that should take care of your $400,000. 5 years from now, when you got another $400,000, what do I do? And Here's my life advice question. What do you do for fun when you run out of fun or are temporarily uninspired? Oh, God. I've been fortunate to do a bunch of cool shit in my life, but I've ran out of ideas at the moment. I do enjoy traveling, but mostly enjoy the international parts. After traveling the U.S. constantly, it's surprising how unsurprising it is. Oh, dude, you have no idea. Well, you do have an idea. Because it's the same. It's, hey, there's a Chipotle here, and then there's a Potbelly's there, and there's a McDonald's off the highway interstate there. Only a few places I still like going in the country. Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. Go international. Travel overseas. It'll definitely be different. My next mission is to do Southeast Asia once I get off my ass and I'm done dealing with my house and everything. If I'm having this problem now, I suspect I will be bored as fuck when I finally do retire and most of my friends are trying to knock out the insanely high college tuition money for the children's. Don't forget wifey poo. Well, you have to pay for her student loans too because oppression. Yeah, you have no idea. That bear is waiting to wrestle with you when you get older. Is the next step starting a business or developing creative pursuits or both? What do unmarried, childless 40-somethings or 50-somethings do with their time? Well, I found out they golf, they drink, they do a lot of traveling and adventuring. There's like clubs you can join where you go on these, I wouldn't say super rich type, but they're like adventure clubs. Ones I can't afford, but you drop, say, $20,000 and they'll take you whitewater rafting in the nicer parts of Africa, but then you wine and dine at a fancy 4-star restaurant in Cairo. I mean, that's something you could consider. Unfortunately, they're short-lived. They don't answer your day-to-day. Let's kind of go through it here. You will be bored as fuck, which is why I don't recommend you retire. I've kind of gone full circle on this where I'm looking at, again, getting a job as a used car salesman. Most of your friends will be knocking out their debts, if not taking on more. They will have their children, which they should spend their time and money on. Unfortunately, they don't spend their time, they spend their money, and they just put kids in every activity. They never actually spend time with their children. Their spouses will also be insanely in debt, and they'll just be working and you won't see them. Is the next step starting a business or developing creative pursuits? Yeah, you could start a business, but not in your situation. You're such a highly skilled professional. that kind of is your job. Maybe you do some contracting on the side, but unless you had an amazing business idea that you totally wanted to pursue, I wouldn't bother with it. Other creative pursuits, yep, you can. I've picked up golf. I found golf to be very awesome. Motorcycling, especially in your neck of the woods, is awesome. This last winter was horrible, though. Oh my gosh, you could do none of the above. Hiking, if you're in Henderson, go hike Black Mountain. That'll give you dude, Black Mountain, the Arizona Springs, you're right there. You don't have to drive through Vegas. Just shoot out past the Hoover Dam, Arizona Springs Trail, the Golden Spike Trail. Those are one's on one side of the Hoover Dam, the other's on the other side. But no matter what, you will get tired of it, and that is the constant battle. That's the curse. That's the drawback for, playing your cards right and keeping your T's crossed and your I's dotted. Because there's just so few fucking people. Golf is pretty good because the people who are like you in this regard, who are retired, are old, traditional 60, 70, 80-year-old men. And that's almost the group of people you're going to have to put into cahoots with. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but these guys are not going to be doing 500-mile motorcycle rides. These guys are not going to be hiking Arizona hot springs. They golf. They got their poker club. And golfing, I don't mind doing. That's fun. So that's why I found them kind of a quasi group of people to hang out with. Join a golf club. But also when you go golfing, you do want to be thrown in with a group of people. I used to just golf by myself because I don't want to get out of my way. And then, I learned quicker that way. But you're just by yourself the entire time. So you do want to be thrown in with a bunch of old guys. And then, they'll bust your balls and they'll cut pubic hair jokes because you'll be younger than them. So it's pretty cool. They're pretty a good group of guys to hang out with. But yeah, it's going to be new creative pursuits, and it's going to be coming up with new ones. Because you know what, one day you're going to wake up like, I don't want to golf, and you'll be like, okay, I want to go ride my motorcycle. And it's like, oh, it's raining out, it's too cold. Okay, now what am I going to do? And you'll bang out whatever work you got to do, and then you're into the meetup groups. It's I wish I had an answer. I wish I had the answer. My answer is prepare for that bad shit, and don't retire. Do not retire. You play this right, like you get your house, it's bought and paid for, you don't have a mortgage anymore, just HOA and whatever else. You have a fully funded IRA and 401k, you got extra money sitting in a Betterment account, you got whatever else. Then you can afford to take some kind of no-name job. I know one guy, he is facing a nice pension coming out of the Navy, engineer. And once his kids are all out of school, you know what he wants to do? He wants to become a Walmart greeter. Full circle, man. Full circle. Guy's got more money than God. I want to be a Walmart greeter. And the problem you're running into is that 98% of the population, I'd say, especially at your age, even more, they're busy being sheep. And they're not busy being sheep. They're busy paying the cost and the price for being sheep. They're paying the cost and the price for taking on debt and doing what every fucking other person did, and that is go into debt, buy shit they didn't need, put value over things over stuff, and just consume and go into debt to do it. So they're essentially in prison. You'll occasionally see, sometimes wife will let them out, but they're essentially in prison, and occasionally you visit them, but they're not out. They're not on the outside, so they're not going in eventually. So you got 2% of the population that you got to go find, and there's not going to be a critical mass of them around. They're going to have the time, flexibility, and freedom, and you have financial freedom. You also have self-employment freedom. I mean, you're not technically self-employed, but you work from home. You could go wherever the hell you want as long as you got your laptop. That mobility freedom, let's call it. That's incredibly rare too. And then you're young, so you have physical. I mean, this gets back to the triple threat. I have the stamina, the money, and the time. So few people have it. You could find people that have one, occasionally find people that have two. I'm trying to think if I know anyone that has three. But yeah, usually they're young, they got money, but they don't got time because they're working too much. They got time, They got the money, but they're not young, so they can't go on physical endeavors because they're old. So my solution is, yeah, you're going to have to try, come up with stuff. Don't retire. Try and find another job. But the number one thing is be prepared for that. And be prepared that there isn't a solution necessarily either. There's treatment. There's treatment. You go in golf, you get a fix, you talk to people, your mind's taken off of it for 3 to 4 hours. Then you go back home to your condo by yourself. You're like, oh. This is normally where a wife might come in or a long-term girlfriend. That's another thing you can consider. I would not have her live with you. I would play every game in the book, make sure that she's supporting. Then you have someone to kind of talk to. That's a good thing to have. But what do unmarried, childless 40-somethings and 50-somethings do with their time? Trying to figure out what to do with their time. That's what they do. So I wish I had a more direct answer, but I don't. But you will at least be prepared for it. So your finances are laid out pretty good. Hopefully give you some options there. And while you're working, work, travel, have fun. But start, especially now while you're in Vegas, start developing a social network, all right? See if you can't find some friends. It's hard. But really look at the older people. Look at the old people groups. Those are the ones that have the time and the money at least. May not be, again, riding across the country with you, but they can hang out with you for a couple hours an afternoon. So. All right, questions, answers, go to assholeconsulting.com, where I, America's older brother, will give you the swift kick in the ass you so desperately deserve and need, long as you got money. Check out the books down below, Bachelor Pad Economics, Worthless, Curse of the High IQ, Poor Richard's Retirement, and all the links to podcasts, donations, Patreon, PayPal, more podcasts. That's about it. We'll see you guys later. Toodles.